Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about the lunar eclipse that's happening on March 25th. This lunar eclipse is really important, and you know how I feel about eclipses. I always say eclipses are one of the best tools we have for prediction, because where the eclipses are occurring is where Rahu and Ketu are, and these are the nodes of the moon that represent our destiny. So it's when the sun and the moon align with these points in space. It's very, very symbolic. And when we have eclipses, remember the light is being darkened, which means that something is coming out that we didn't know about. And this goes globally as well as personally. So we have a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse, and they happen 6 months apart. Now, sometimes in rare instances, there is only a solar eclipse because it depends on how close the sun and the moon are together with Rahu and Ketu. But normally, there's a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse, both 6 months apart, okay? So first you have either the full moon that is conjunct Rahu and Ketu, and in this case we have the lunar eclipse happening before the solar eclipse. Sometimes it's the other way around. We have a solar eclipse, then a lunar eclipse 2 weeks later. It is essentially when the moon and the sun, the lunar eclipse is when you have a full moon, and Rahu and Ketu, Rahu's either conjunct the sun or the moon, or Ketu's conjunct the sun and the moon. Rahu and Ketu are always exactly diametrically opposite in the zodiac. And when they come together with the full moon, it's a lunar eclipse. When they come together with the new moon is when the sun and the moon are conjunct. And that's what we're looking at for August 8th. The new moon, which is a solar eclipse, which is going to be conjunct the sun and the moon in Pisces. Rahu will. So that's what's coming. And the 2-week period between the lunar and the solar eclipse is the serious, heavy eclipse season. There is a heaviness that you feel, you sense, you know in the air, because this is such powerful, powerful energy. Remember, the sun is what gives us light. And the daytime, the moon is where we rest. It's our reflective time when the moon comes out. And it's a time of recharging where the day is our power time to get things done. The night is when we recharge. This deals with the sun and the moon. And when you put together Rahu and Ketu and you have an eclipse, the light is darkened. So before I continue, I want to remind everyone to sign up for my free newsletter. Go to galacticcenter.org and you will get all of my predictions delivered to your email every week free. So that is a deal. Now, while you're there at galacticcenter.org, look at my Patreon page. Join a community. Get exclusive information from me that you can't get elsewhere, and be involved in some of our spiritual classes. Check it out at galacticcenter.org. Now, let's continue on, because this lunar eclipse is vitally important that you know what's going on. Because what I am seeing, well, first, this lunar eclipse is going to occur in Virgo. And it's going to be 10 degrees, 55 minutes. So essentially, let's just say 11 degrees of Virgo. And it happens in the nakshatra called Hasta. I don't think I need to explain this, but for some of you that might be new to my channel, I do Vedic astrology, which uses the sidereal system, and it gives different places than the Western traditional tropical astrology. But it is true to the stars, and it is true to astronomical positions. So this is where the planets are really placed astronomically in the sky. So it's very important. But going back to where the moon is, it is 11 degrees of Virgo in the nakshatra Hasta. We use the 27 nakshatras. Their meanings are derived from the stars. So hasta means hand. And it means taking hold of things, grasping on, holding on. It is a powerful nakshatra ruled by the moon. And while the moon is in this nakshatra, it is all powerful. Not to mention it's this bright moon that will be darkened by this eclipse energy. So when the shadows cast on the moon, something comes out that we didn't know that is very secret. One of the things that I think could be relative to this is that we might be having a health scare. Why do I say this? Because Virgo's all about health and healing. Another thing that can come out is all the suppression of what governments around the world have known about health and disease. Maybe even about the virus. What's been going on with that? Nobody seems to have done anything to find the truth about it. And even what's been going on with the drug companies with all of this. None of this has come out. It's been well suppressed. Maybe some of it will during this time, because there's going to be the darkness, and out of the dark comes the light, comes back, and something's revealed. We're going to see this. So keep your eyes peeled, keep your ears open, listen to your inner gut feeling, because that's where you're going to get the answer of what's been going on. We're going to have some information spilled out during this time. Another thing, it could represent a health scare, maybe some biological warfare, because I do see war being rampant and anger, people really coming out of the woodwork with fear and anger and frustration. Because during this time of this eclipse, we also have Mars approaching Saturn in Aquarius. Mars and Saturn are treacherous together. And as they move up closer and closer together, so does the frustration and the anger about all that's been suppressed from us. All the lies, the deception. Remember, we had the new moon 2 weeks before, and it was in the nakshatra Purva Bhadrapada, which means two-faced, giving us the wrong information, lying to us, in other words. But this, here's where I see where it could be something out of control. Now, it could just mean an attack of some sort. It really could, because we are in a dangerous cycle during this eclipse. Now, like I said, there's a full moon or a new moon, and then you have the full moon eclipse. Then 2 weeks later, you could have the solar eclipse, or sometimes you have the solar eclipse before the lunar eclipse, but they're always 2 weeks apart. And it happens twice a year that you have the lunar and the solar. So the next one's going to be in early October. Look out, some things are going to be happening September and October. And it could be relative to the information that's being revealed right now. This whole year is about this. So the reason why I'm thinking this could be something concerning health is because the moon is with Ketu. Ketu is fear. So we have the full moon with Ketu. That's definitely harder than the full moon with Rahu. So Ketu is fear. Ketu are things beyond this world we cannot see. But at the same time, they're in Virgo, which deals with health and healing. Now, here's the catcher. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So if you look to this day where Mercury is situated, it sits at 29 degrees Pisces. And that may not be meaningful to you, but it certainly is to me. This is the very last degree of the zodiac and of Pisces, last sign of the zodiac, and the last few degrees of a water sign are called gandanta. So during this lunar eclipse, it means people are going to be out of control. Because what do I say? I always say that gandanta deals with a sense of drowning. It can indicate like a sense of going down and drowning. And what does that essentially mean? Well, that can mean major storms are going on, floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, all of that nature, or typhoons. But all at the same time, let me say this, even if it doesn't deal with floods and water, which probably we're going to have all of the above, floods, water, storms, tornadoes, as well as attacks and earthquakes. So every time we come, you know, there's earthquakes, there's storms, all of this is happening throughout the year at some point, but this localizes it where this is where all this more catastrophes happen. When you have the eclipse season time, I swear to you, it's like you hear sirens in the air more than you do normally. A lot goes wrong during the eclipse season. But as I mentioned before in other videos, the eclipse season is really where the nodes of the moon, Rahu and Ketu, stand still for 3 months. Because around eclipses, they are stationary. And that makes them more and more and more intense. Now, these degrees of the eclipses, the lunar, the solar, around April and May, Mars is going to be crossing over these eclipse degrees. So you better look out. April and May are going to be the most violent. But during this time, because we have Mercury gandanta, which means a sense of drowning, which actually means being out of control. Mercury deals with the thinking process of the mind. People are going to be out of their minds. Besides that, Mercury's even debilitated in Pisces, meaning it isn't thinking logically. People are out of their minds and not thinking logically. It is really going to be an intense and crazy time. Insane. People are going to be, you're going to wonder, why are people like this? This is why. And the other aspect of this is that the Mars and Saturn currently are in the nakshatra called Shatabishak. That nakshatra, and I talked about it because Saturn is here for quite a long time, but it can also deal with the Sky Watcher, which can deal with what is out in space. So this can be people going crazy because really it's coming out what's really out in space and what's been happening on planet Earth with foreign life, aliens. Yes, this is an incredibly interesting time to be on the planet, I gotta say. And not only that, we're looking at March 25th. Well, as Mercury gets to 29 degrees, well, it still isn't retrograde yet, so it's going to move to 1 degree of Aries, which is still gandanta, by the way. First few degrees of fire, last few degrees of water. So it's out of control. Then it stations and stops. And April 1st, Mercury turns retrograde. So people are out of control. People are out of their minds. People are not thinking logically. Mercury is messed up. It's a planet of communications, it's a planet of thinking, and it's a planet of travel. So you bet traveling and things are going to be really messed up at this time. So be careful traveling. And by the way, I am going to be traveling, but hey, you know, you make the best of it. It's not catastrophic. It's just that you have such things that go wrong like mechanicals or delays or computer foul up. You know, you can't stop everything for the 3 weeks that Mercury's retrograde, can you? You just have to be prepared and know that it's going to take longer to get places and not to be frustrated. But I think the problem here is people mentally are going to not be thinking clearly, and it's going to be a mess. So the sun, being in Pisces, is very close to Neptune, which makes it even more crazy and people being more cantankerous and weird and not logical, not thinking. Deception. So when I look at this eclipse, I think of deception, and I think about it dealing with water. So be careful around water in ships and boats. I keep getting that there might be some kind of attack on a ship or a boat, and that could definitely be war, in the area of war. But could it have anything to do with biological warfare, with the Mercury in Pisces? See, Pisces, Virgo's the 6th sign, Pisces is the 12th sign. And those are actually the houses in astrology that deal with health and healing and problems with health. So there could be some very interesting times ahead where something is revealed about what's been suppressed about health, or that something's being suppressed maybe from some enemies that are going to infiltrate the countries with damaging biological warfare. And once again, the United States is being flooded with fentanyl and all sorts of drugs that will kill people. This can't be ignored for that much longer. It's going to escalate, and it's coming to a huge crescendo where we're going to see major issues coming out of this denial of all and ignoring of all of what has been happening and coming together. This will be a time when we're going to see, because what comes out of the dark looks like a lot of the ugliness that has been suppressed for so long in so many areas. War, health, biological warfare, what's been going on with the health companies and their suppression of letting cures come out, as well as what's been going on with, you know what, I don't even know if I can still say the words, dealing with what happened to us in 2020. Because they're still on it. They still, are on all this stuff. And just, here's what I say. We know. We're going to see a lot be revealed. How it's all tied up in money in countries and governments, especially when it comes to healthcare and things of that nature. We know this. But what do? You got to be strong, know you're going to be safe, and you got to know that you're protected. Because when you come from the positive and the light, you have the force of love and the divine behind you. And there's nothing more protective and more powerful than that. So come from a place of trust and knowing that you will be okay, no matter how much fear is thrown at you. Remember, fear is how they control you. So be solid with knowing that you're okay and you're protected, and you will be. And therefore, you're going to do great service to help the world get through these trying, difficult times, because what's coming after this birthing process, this process of destruction, comes a beautiful healing. And we're all going to be there to see that everything happens for a reason, everything. And everything's been happening for a reason, so that we could see the truth and we could come to the other side to a much better world without all of this deceptive work that has been plaguing us for so long. So with that, I think I'll close. If you would like more information on me, go to my website, galacticcenter.org. And if you would like to study with me, become my student, go to my university website, which is universityofvedicastrology.com. Thank you.